Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly MMA Cycles Market Update. Today is the 21st of August, 2024, and we are on the cusp of Virgo season and in middle of a very intense period of geocosmic activity. We've seen stocks generally continue to move higher following the low that formed on the 5th of August, the very day that Mercury went retrograde. And I think that Mercury retrograde really is defining a lot of what we're seeing and hearing right now. So the big news today in markets is that there was a major payroll revision for the last year by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a downward revision of over 800,000 jobs. So that's pretty big. And from my vantage point, suggests that there was quite a bit of miscommunication taking place along the lines of job creation. And it also lends credence to the idea that perhaps the Fed should have been cutting rates sooner if the job market was indeed weaker than it was otherwise reported. So this sets us up for rate cuts coming in September. We knew that was coming already, but today we also have FOMC minutes to grapple with, and it's going to give us some more insights on what the Federal Reserve is thinking. But, obviously coming into this week, all eyes were on the intense period of geocosmic activity. Started last week with the square between Mars and Saturn, and as we began this week, we had a square between Venus and Jupiter, and an opposition between Venus and Saturn, Sun square Uranus, and of course, now we are in the central time band of Jupiter square Saturn between now and June 15th, 2025. And so Merriman sent out a special report that tackled the importance of this August 5th low. And so would definitely recommend you check that out. It can be found at www.mmacycles.com because this does set us up for a slightly different outlook than we had previously with regard to stocks. So something you don't want to miss, especially as we go into election season in a couple of months here. Markets are still susceptible to volatility. And, the big story between Jupiter and Saturn, the square signature, is tensions between expansion and contraction from an economic standpoint, and whether policymakers can thread the needle and actually create growth without creating inflation, because I think that's going to be a big topic of discussion. The Fed to cut interest rates before their annual inflation target of 2% was achieved. So this represents a major shift in traditional Fed policy, and I think will ultimately hurt their credibility in the long run. And if you look at the natal chart of the Federal Reserve Board, I think it supports that as well. But let's jump over to the Nasdaq here. You are seeing the Nasdaq outperform. The top performing sector in the S&P 500 last week was technology. That is a good sign. And it seems so far, we had that Sun square Uranus. Looks like we broke resistance here in the Nasdaq. Now, it is new all-time highs or bust here, so just want to be very clear about that. But we're going into Virgo season. Only about a week left in Mercury retrograde, but before that, we also have Venus square Mars on the 22nd, Venus trine Uranus on the 27th, and then Venus opposite Neptune on the 28th, the same day that Mercury goes direct. So we'll see how this whole scenario in terms of miscommunication surrounding the labor market unfolds. But bonds seemingly have liked the news. TLT rallying to a new high. I still would like to see this go sideways for a little bit longer and kind of reset the cycle count, but it is a bull market in the short term overall in TLT. You take a look at gold and silver. Gold hit another new all-time high. Silver also starting to pop up. It's down today, but did show a nice rally. And as discussed with Puyan last week, there are still some questions surrounding whether this low on the 7th of August is an expanded primary cycle or just a major cycle phase low. You take a look at crude oil. Still chopping around USO, selling off here. I think that we're falling into an intermediate term cycle low, with Saturn and Pisces. I think it supports the idea of an intermediate term low since Pisces rules the energy market. It's something we should keep an eye out for. Big moves on the currency front, the euro exploding to a new multi-month high. If anything, I think that dollar weakness is probably a tailwind for stocks and something that should be considered, but looking forward to hearing Ulrich Aspergen's insights on the euro and the dollar at the MMA investment retreat in Lake Bled from the 19th to the 22nd of September. You should definitely check that out and come see us if you can. Take a look at the dollar against the yen. Still seeing some weakness in the dollar against the yen. And if this was the culprit for market weakness, definitely something that we should monitor closely, especially since we have the FOMC minutes today. And I almost forgot to mention, later this week, we do have Fed Chair Powell's Jackson Hole speech under Mercury retrograde nonetheless. And so the last few times that Mercury retrograde's been in effect, there's been some interesting comments on behalf of the Federal Reserve. Recall that when Mercury was retrograde back in December, that's when the Fed, said that, hey, we're going to start being a little more dovish and stocks ripped higher. And here we are. It took about 9 months for them to actually follow through with those statements. So definitely watch the Japanese yen for another round of strength here. Now let's take a look at cryptocurrencies. Interesting price action in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I'm excited to report to you that I think we're going to see a big move coming up in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's our handy dandy Venus going through Libra indicator. And as a reminder, whenever Venus goes through the signs of either Taurus or Libra, the probability of a 20% or greater move in both Bitcoin and Ethereum is higher. And if you actually get really deep into the data, Venus in Taurus is more beneficial for Bitcoin, while Venus in Libra is more beneficial for Ethereum. So I like the idea of this August 5th low being an intermediate term cycle trough in cryptos. And, if the Fed comes out, it's dovish, in the next, couple of weeks, even during this Mercury retrograde period, maybe even Jackson Hole speech, we could start to see this market move back up. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on, because dollar's weaker, interest rates are down. Last time we were in a macroeconomic environment like this, it was a major tailwind for cryptocurrency prices. So that's pretty much all I wanted to review with you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. We have updates each and every week and periodic special guests. A couple of announcements. We did release the Shanghai monthly report and the monthly ETF reports this week. Those can be found at www.mmacycles.com. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, and something I highly recommend that you come check out if you can in person, is the MMA investment retreat in Lake Bled, Slovenia, between the 19th to the 22nd of September. And if you can't make it in person, there are spots available virtually. So if you are traveling, working, or just want to watch it in the comfort of your own home, definitely consider taking a look at our long-term cyclical outlooks for all sorts of markets. So don't want to miss it. Details can be found once again at www.mmacycles.com. That's all for now, everyone. See you next week. Thank you.